Okay, and then you can just send me that or share it with me. Okay, so we're here with Kelli Hutchison, and I'm going to hand it over to you, and you can tell us who you are and what you do.
So I am Kelli Hutchison, and I have worked in payroll for the district since 2000. So it's been a while. And I also transferred to HR last January, and I worked in HR for about 7 months before coming back to fill in as the district accounting manager. But I'm still mostly specializing in payroll. So, and Lori had asked me if we could have this session. It's not super formal. I don't really have a presentation, but I can answer some questions. And so I think Lori's going to give us a quick example of how to log into self-service.
Paycheck, honey, my paycheck.
Sorry.
Just in case some of you haven't logged into self-service and accessed the area where you can view your earning statements, or what we used to call pay stubs.
I'm just trying to find my window. Give me a second.
Hard when you have 50 million windows open.
Here we go, self-service. Let's see. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so this is my self-service. So show me how you find it, and I can open up stuff if you need me to, as long as I don't share my own stuff.
No. So once you log into self-service, you need to choose the employee box. That's where you'll find all the information that is available as an employee of the district. And so the thing we'll be talking about today are your earning statements. So when you click that area, you'll be able to select the year, and each year has a listing of all your earning statements from that year. But I also want to point out a couple things on the menu page. So if we go back to the employee, yeah.
And if everyone can mute themselves, that'd be great. Thank you.
So a couple of things. The first box on the left is your tax information. And we have had W-2 statements available electronically for the last.
Oh, okay. I'm like, what is that noise? No vayamos a.
Could everyone mute themselves, please? Thank you.
So anyway, when you click into, now I've lost my screen also. Sorry. Anyway, when you log into self-service under the employee tab, when you click into your tax information, the first thing you will need to do if you want to be able to see your W-2s electronically is to give consent. Once you've given consent, you'll be able to see all the W-2s for the prior years that are available. And I'm still trying to find the screen you're sharing again. Anyway, the other thing I wanted to point out is your banking information. If you have electronic deposit, which you should all have, because a lot of credit unions and banks are depositing a day ahead of time so you can get your money.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you already have direct deposit set up, but you need to change your banking information, this is where you would go to change where you want your check deposited. And you will need to know your current account number in order to log in and make changes. If you need help with that, you can email us at payroll@sccd.edu and we can help you either log in or answer your questions about your direct deposit.
So that would be under the banking information, right?
Yes, that's under the banking information.
Okay.
And then the other one I wanted to point out is the stipend history.
Let me go back over
Now,
there.
if there are stipends included in your full-time contract, you won't see those here because those are actually included in your annual salary. But if you have done special projects that you're
I
receiving,
clicked off of mine really fast.
that you're receiving stipends for, you'll be able to see all of them listed there. So now, if we want to go to, I did email you, Lori, the full-time example of the earnings statement.
Yeah, let me go and grab that. Okay, so, and we do have both part-time and full-time here. So let me make sure that you all can see this. And I see there are a couple of questions. I will go and look at them and let me stop the share and reshare. So let's look at the questions first. So if we see it all, we have given consent. Yes, you have. Okay,
Exactly.
so share. Yeah, just have a little patience with us. We're just working this out. I think this is the one you just sent me, right? Yes.
Yes, this is the full-time earnings statement.
I'm going to make it bigger, so I'll have to scroll up and down. So go ahead. Can you see it now, Kelly?
I can, thank
Okay.
you.
Okay.
So this is not my favorite earnings statement because it has a lot of information, and to me, it's not in an easy to read order. But I just want to point out that the box on the top right, the red box, that will let you know what your withholding status is. So prior to 2020, the W-4 that you filled out for your federal withholding status for your taxes allowed you to include a number of exemptions that you wanted to have on there. So that would be basically your number of dependents. So you can see this person is claiming single with 5 federal exemptions. The new form that came out in 2020 does not include those exemptions. So the new form gives you a choice of claiming either married or single, and then you can choose whether you want your taxes to be withheld at a higher rate in case you need to have more taxes withheld, or just the standard tax withholding table. And then, of course, there's an area where you can always choose to have additional federal withholding or state withholding. And we will be sending out a mail-all probably later today or Monday. And that mail-all just talks about some of the new rates for 2025. And there will be links in there where you can access the federal W-4 or the state DE-4 if you want to make a change to your taxes. Now, the middle section where it says earnings, I'm assuming, hopefully most of you know that if you're a full-time contract, your gross will be the same each pay period, unless there's a retro for some reason. That's the only reason that your monthly pay should change throughout the year. And then below, this is where I feel it gets a little confusing. On the left, you can see the list of all the taxes that are being withheld. And then below that, all the benefits that you have that either you're paying for yourself or that the district is also paying a portion of. So I just want to say that to start off with, if you're just looking at your monthly paycheck, if you stay all the way to the left, underneath where it says employee, those are the items that are being withheld out of the current paycheck. So that first column, those are the things that are being withheld from the check that you're specifically looking at. Everything else, so the second column would be the year to date, and that is the calendar year to date. So this is an older example. This is from about halfway through last year for this person. So if you want to know how much you've had withheld for the calendar year or the tax year, that would be in that second column. And then the grayed out columns are actually what the employer or what the district contributes. So there are some taxes that the employer pays for, like the state unemployment insurance. The district pays that insurance, the workers' compensation, the district pays that insurance. Those items the employees do not have to pay for themselves. And then below in the benefits, okay, so there are some here that are shared. Down where it says medical, it's about halfway through the benefits. So this is a shared benefit. So the employee's paying $292 for their portion of the premium. And then in the first shaded column, you can see that the district is paying $1,250 towards that medical premium. So some of them are your specific voluntary deductions. Some of them, like the dental and life, vision, I think is on the next page, those are strictly paid for by the district. And then some of them are shared. And then at the bottom, you'll find the totals for the current month and for the year of what you paid and also what the district paid. And then just to explain the second column from the right, where it says applicable gross, that means that's the amount of income that is being taxed on. So you can see the Medicare is more than the federal and state taxable gross, because things like your tax shelters and your retirement are deducted before your federal and state taxes are applied. So
Say that again?
say that again. Okay. So your Medicare is taxed almost at your full gross. There are just one or two things that don't apply to the Medicare tax. But then for your federal and state tax, the amount that you're contributing to a tax shelter or to your retirement, which is either STRS or PERS, those contributions are deducted from your gross amount before the taxes are applied. So you're not having tax withheld on your full gross.
Okay.
So it's kind of nice to have those retirement contributions deferred from being taxed. So, okay. My other examples are for adjunct. So if you want to go to the adjunct, the understanding your paycheck. So a lot of this is the same thing that I just went over, but I did want to point out that adjuncts are paid hourly, and this also applies to your overload checks for full-time faculty. So the pay rates that you see are right in the middle of the page under earnings. And unfortunately, I don't believe for adjuncts, there's anything out there that tells you your grade and step. And I have a meeting with HR and IT about this to see if we can figure something out, because when we moved to self-service, that kind of went away. So as far as the pay rates go, if you scroll down to the second page, this is the part-time faculty salary schedule. And so if you look at the pay rate on your earnings statement and then match it to the pay rate here, hopefully you can figure out what your class and step is. And if you know that you're working lab hours and lecture hours, you will have multiple pay rates on your check. So typically, let's see if that goes up that high. Yeah. So the highest pay rate on that earnings statement should normally be a lecture rate. And I'm scanning on here to see if it matches. I probably should have done that ahead of time.
Yeah,
And
is this the pay rate? Oh no, that's supplemental.
those are the hours.
Okay, so where is oh, here I see. Okay.
Yeah, those are the pay rates. So the bottom pay rate is the highest pay rate. And if you look, it's 92.81. So if you look at the lecture table, you can see that that is class 5, step 5. Yep. And then let's look at the middle rate, 78.93. So that should be your lab rate, and it should be the same class and step on the lab table. Exactly. So the salary tables can be found on the district internet, on the website. And I know our website can sometimes be kind of hard to figure out where you're going. So what I like to do is just go to the search bar and I just type salary, and it'll give you a search results list, but usually the top choice will take you right to the page where all the salary tables are. So hopefully that helps a little bit. And then I did want to point out for adjunct, the non-instructional table are also separate rates from the lab. So I know you're going to see a lot of different pay rates. So one other thing I wanted to point out I think it's on the third page of this document, is your 2022-2025 stipends. And these are just for adjunct. This is found in the part-time bargaining unit contract, and this can also be found on the website. And again, I usually just go to the search bar and type bargaining, and but then you'll find the page where you can look at all the different union contracts. So a couple of things I wanted to point out is that for office hours, which are for adjunct faculty, the dollar amount per hour is $35, and then our training rate is 26.75 per hour. So if you see those on your earnings statement, you should know that those are either for office hours or for your orientation. And then for coaches, that amount is in the paragraph above for assistant coaching stipends. And like I said before, in the self-service menu, there's that option for your stipends. You can click on that and make sure that your stipend is in there for whichever semester that you're coaching. And the last thing I wanted to mention before we get to questions is the 403B and 457. So I gave you the link to the website here. If you're interested, all employees are eligible to sign up for, well, I should say at least all faculty are eligible to sign up for either a 403B or a 457 plan. And there's some information here if you'd like to check into it and see what options are available for you. So this can be used to supplement your retirement if you're in STRS or PERS. And it will also help lower your taxable income during the year for each paycheck. I think those are the basic things I wanted to cover, and I'm willing to answer questions for anybody that has them.
Can full-time faculty view current grade and step on our pay statements or via self-service? I know it's in self-service.
The grades and steps are not listed anywhere in self-service. Full-time faculty should have access to Talent Ed.
No, they are in self-service.
They are?
Yeah,
Where do you find that?
it is, I have to find it
Okay.
under employment, under employee, position, grade, and step info.
Well,
So I'm class 5. They call it the greater range, but that's the class, and I've been working 23 years here full time.
wow.
Yeah.
Can
Well,
you
it's
share
good
that again, Lori? Where you
I'm
got-
here.
Yes, I can. So I went to employment. I went to employee, and it's all the way down at the bottom.
Oh, wow.
And we get sent usually at the beginning of the year in August, contract. So you want to double check and make
That's
sure
what I
you're
was
in the
gonna
right
say.
class and step. Especially if you're new and there are questions, there's only like a certain amount of time. I think that you can go in and say, no, I should be on a certain class, a different class. I think it's like 6 months or something. If there's a union person here, they would know better. But that's a contract.
Because I'm not seeing that on my screens.
Oh, you're in self-service
Yeah.
and you went to the employment?
Oh, maybe I'm okay. I'm
You
clicking to
have you have to do it on the left
the
column.
left side. Yeah, that's where we're okay.
It doesn't work if you just do it how we were in.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, cool. Thank you.
I know,
Yeah.
weird. And
For
then
sure, thank you.
yeah, it's weird.
I don't know why that's not a box on the main menu screen.
It looks like there are some other things here too, but yeah, when in doubt, go to this left-hand place. I know, yeah. So, and definitely check it. Like I was helping a friend the other day and she thought that her grade or range, which is our class, she thought she was higher up than she was. So that's really important that you know someone who does the salary advancement, you need to know where you're at. And they can call, I think it's Sage who can tell you, let me know, Kelly, if I'm wrong, how many units you need to get to the next class, right?
Actually, that would be HR.
Okay.
So HR they set the grade based on your education. And
Yeah.
the steps would, like you said, have to do with how long you've been here.
Yeah.
So I would suggest either Sarang Nim or Jessica Barros in HR if you have questions about your grade placement.
Who was it?
Sarang Nim, I can,
Oh, yeah.
do you know those names?
And who was the other one? Sarang and,
Jessica Barros.
okay. I thought there was someone else too, but I have to look back through my notes. So, but
So for adjunct faculty, April Johnson also.
yes.
And you were saying there's a place to see our contract too? Because I've had difficulty finding my contract.
It gets sent to you. There's a district email that goes out at some point.
True. but there is, I'm looking here, it's called Talent Ed. So if you log into your portal and go into your apps catalog, it should be the same place that you actually are supposed to sign your contract.
I don't think I got the email last year, and a few people said that.
Do you want me to see if I can find mine? You said go into our portal.
Mhm.
Portal. And then you said, oh, I have to sign in. Sorry, it'll take a few minutes.
I see that Christy had put the names of the HR technicians in the chat. So you all have access to their names.
Oh, okay, I see it. So hold on, let me share the screen. And then someone had asked a question we can come back to. Doug, we'll come back to your question. Okay, so here's Talent Ed. And I went into the portal and then I just went to the search.
Okay.
Oh, and then we have to put in see if that works. What's the sign in?
Yeah, mine had a different username.
Yeah, mine does too.
I think it's our like sign, like our underbar and our ID. Like
Mine's my last name underscore.
yeah, and the
7.
ID.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. And then this gives us, oh, the contract. Okay, sign and approve. So maybe I haven't. Oh, okay, this is what we've gotten this. So this gives all of our contracts.
Yep.
Okay.
And is there anything under files?
Payroll, personnel, professional development.
What's under personnel? Oh. I thought maybe there'd be a contract folder here, but I don't see it.
It was just the other, these are our contracts here.
Right, but these are your tasks. So the things that haven't been signed are here, maybe under completed. It's next
Oh,
to,
here, yeah, sorry, I'm moving things around.
Yeah.
Yeah, faculty contract without stipend, 2024-25 view.
so after you've signed them, they should move here.
Yeah. And obviously I'm not good at signing my contracts.
Well, I mean, obviously not everybody's used to logging in because it's a totally different sign in than everything else in the portal. And I don't know what kind of notices are sent out with that, so.
So Deanna has a question, but Doug had a question earlier. It said full-time Schedule A pay stub indicates that each weekday of a month counts as 8 hours a day. Why are total hours per month calculated, including holidays?
So when we transitioned to what we now call colleague in the year 2000, at the time, it basically only had one annual setup for most employees. So it shows all the possible working hours in the month for every type of employee. So because you're paid a salary, the hours don't actually calculate anything. So technically it would be nice if it didn't show your hours on the earning statement because your pay isn't based on the hours. It's based on the number of duty days in your contract.
Then hopefully that's clear, and if not, ask a follow-up. And then Tony, and I'll get to you, Deanna, in a second, asked, even though I teach the same classes each semester, my overload pay is never the same. Can you help explain the overload pay?
So because overload is paid by the hour, so anything above your contracted number of units that you're teaching is moved to the overload calculation. And so it's based on the extra hours that you're teaching each month. So the overload pay is different each month. I'm not sure if you're asking why it's different each semester.
I think overall why it's, yeah, which would be why it's different each month. Or Tony, go ahead.
Well, I mean, the printouts that we get, if I've ever asked, they're just so difficult to read. I mean, and I understand payroll and I can't figure them out. And I never know what to expect for my overload pay. And it just really seems like I should be able to figure that out. But like they'll have these 5.39. Well, where did those hours come from? How do I know a 0.39 hour? Things like that. That's what's confusing to me. I feel like I'm not in control to be able to verify that I'm getting paid for what I am doing. And that's just my question. Those don't make sense to me.
So what I've seen from my end in payroll is that there are different reasons why there may be partial hours, and it could be because there's a large group instruction included in there, or maybe only part of your load or part of a class is considered overload and not the full 3 units or whatever it is. And we get that information from the VP of Instruction's office. At Reedley right now, I believe it's Angela Bustos, who's recently taken over the job of calculating the hours and turning them into payroll. So that would be a question for them specifically, but hopefully my examples helped a little bit.
So everyone needs to really make sure they look at their load now, load sheets, especially with the turnover, there's, always some confusion. What I had remember someone telling me a while ago, like a long time ago, Kelly, was that sometimes because of where the holidays are, the overload pay is different. Because like if you do a Monday, Wednesday class and then you have that Monday off, they don't count that Monday as part of the overload.
True.
That's why sometimes I think the overload could be different. Maybe that's what I remember someone telling me.
And I was going to say recently, but it's been a few years now. To me, that's still recent. But the online classes, I believe at one point, and I think they're still doing it this way, where they're counting the hours on Wednesdays. So it happened at least one year, because usually there are fewer hours in August, then a certain amount in September, and then October is usually the most amount of hours because it's the longest month. Well, one of the years, one of the Wednesdays, the extra Wednesday fell in September. So that year, the September check had more hours than the October check. And I know people were confused at that time. But I think it's because for the online classes, just to make it consistent, they count the number of Wednesdays in the month, even though the online class might be, different days of the week.
And that's been full time.
And I'll add, and I'm sorry, I missed part of Tony's question, but Tony has released from the Academic Senate. And so if you have any kind of release time and you're going into overload, the lab hours versus the lecture hours, and Tony, yours might have changed significantly from prior to your Senate service to now, because Senate hours have to be on load. And so it's a complicated thing. And you mentioned go and sit down with Angela if you're confused. And I'm confused every semester. So I go and I sit down with Angela. And she was able to make a couple of corrections, I'll say it, and to mine. So if you're confused, it's worth taking the time. And I think Angela Lori has already talked to you about maybe next semester doing something on load sheets during the flex hour.
That's a great idea.
No, you had mentioned that. I need to write that down. Deanna, you had your hand up.
Thanks,
Do you-
Lori. Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm so sorry. I'm just going back. This is a few steps ago. What was for the talent ed, for that app, the username and the password? Is the username the last name underscore and the ID?
Yes.
And then the password is something we create, right?
No, the password is your password that you use for your single sign-in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's confusing too. And then Jim said going to State Center website and searching for bargaining, the contract comes up, the salary table in the contract for full-time overload salary schedule does not match with something else.
Right.
I'm-
So the salary tables in the printed contracts are the salary tables for the first year. So the contracts usually last 3 years. So when the COLAs are added, then that salary table is no longer valid for the new year. So you need to search for salary. Yeah, and go to the page that has the actual tables.
Okay. Other questions? So it is confusing. Lab hours count as 0.75 LHE. So if we paid for lab hours on our overload, we are given a lower rate unless LHE. So it's a double whammy. Yes, Veronica, you are correct. And now yes. Do you have anything to say about that, Kelly?
I don't. That's all done, in the bargaining
Yes.
meetings.
I would say, Doug, that is a comment for the union. So
Yeah.
other questions, comments? If Kelly, we're still confused and we need help with our pay stub, who do we go to?
So if you're confused about, if you're confused about the rates or you think you might be placed incorrectly, that would be HR, and those names are in the chat. But if you have a question about any of the calculations, anything on your earning statement that you don't recognize, the best thing to do would be to email payroll@sccd.edu. And that's because that goes to everybody in payroll. And so whoever gets it the fastest would be able to get back to you.
Deanna, you have another question?
Yeah, sorry, just real quick. So when we go into our contract and agreement via Talent Ed, and we see that we have our salary on our class and step, that space should not reflect release or overtime overload.
Not overload.
Okay, and then but would that contract convey what kind of release time you have? Should that be indicated in the contract?
No.
Okay.
The contract is based on your grade and step and your number of duty days. And
Okay.
if you have any stipends like an earned doctorate.
Okay.
Uh,
And that's it. That's all we should see there is just our salary, our step and thing. It's just the salary.
Yes.
That's okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I think release time is between you and the college.
And that's turned in on a magic form because release time is expensed in a different way than the instructional time. So somebody in your division should be doing a magic form, and you should be able to have a copy of that if you want to see how much time is your release time.
Doug had another question, and if an instructor misses a face-to-face class for illness, but not their online class, is a full sick day deducted? I never, I mean, I'll just answer for myself. Like if say I have we'll make it easy, one face to face and one online, and I really do my online work that day, I might just put in 50% sick leave. Yeah, it's self-reported on the form you fill out. So I might not do a whole day. Or there have been times where I missed a class but went to my other two classes, so I only did a third on the form that we fill out. And then Deanna just asked, so should a magic form be filled out every year during the preceding semester as long as the release agreement remains?
So if the release time is going to be the same for the whole year, then it only really needs to be done at the beginning of the fall semester. Does that answer the question?
I think so.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. So every year you would do that at the beginning of the fall semester for that academic year.
Actually, if all of your classes and your release time's the same, for example, for department chair or department head, a lot of times that's a 2-year commitment. And so if nothing changes, that only has to be done at the beginning of the first year that you have that assignment.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
And then Doug, you said do meetings count too? I'm not sure what you mean. We can't hear you. You sound like you're far, far away. In a different dimension.
I can say a little bit about meetings. I don't know everything about meetings, but if you're having meetings during the summer or during the time that is not part of your regular duty days, those are usually reported on a timesheet and paid as overload.
No. I mean, yes, but like hardly. You need to change your mic maybe.
Or you can send an email.
Okay. I think I get what he means, but I think with sick leave, that's something I don't know.
So if the meeting was supposed to be part of your regular contracted day, if you miss the meeting, then that would go towards your sick leave. So as Lori was saying earlier, if you miss one class out of 2, that would be considered 50% for that day.
Well, and you put miss face-to-face class, but attend academic senate meeting. I don't know about that, Doug. I mean, that would be something where I might actually ask you or email Keith or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think if you have,
Or Rebecca, go, you have an idea on this.
I don't have an idea. I have the same question because I have obviously a lot of release time and I run into this. And what I was gonna say is I have a sneaky suspicion that this is down to whatever practices there are with the administrative assistant that you hand this to and who tells you what. So that would be something that maybe the union, Doug, and could help get clarified, because I get a feeling that it's not even like a policy so much as just who gets it and how they handle it. And so, because I've seen different practices and I've heard different practices.
Yeah, and I've never been questioned if I've only deducted like a quarter for sick leave or something. I mean, I haven't done that in a long time. I don't usually take my sick leave, but if there's something going on and I'm on campus for something and off for, because of a doctor's appointment, then I might do, 50%. Yeah, but
and payroll doesn't question those
yeah.
Yeah.
We don't know what you have scheduled on any given day.
Yeah. So just one last question, question about uneven load fall and spring. Christina, do you want to?
Hi.
Hi.
Sure. So I've only been teaching, this is my 5th year. I usually have always had an overload, but this year I had an overload in fall, but an underload in spring. I guess I'd say I have under 15 units. So I just was curious, do I just get money subtracted from my regular paycheck?
So unfortunately, this tends to happen more than I like. So you say you have 18 units in the fall, and so 3 of those units are overload, and so we're paying you extra during the fall, and then like you said, all of a sudden now you only have 12 units in the spring, which means those additional 3 units from the fall should have been included in your regular contract. And so now you owe the money that you were paid for overload. So once payroll is notified, there's really what happens is that we would write you a letter and give you options of how to repay that. So it could be repaid by a check in one full amount, or it could be multiple payments, or we could deduct a net amount from your full-time paychecks.
I missed the question. Are you talking about if you have like a beer load in the fall and then that makes up for the part? What I've done when I gotten my load sheets is I have them withhold my overload for the fall and they add it to the spring. So then I don't owe any money. But there has been one time where I didn't do that soon enough, and so I re-owe the district a couple $100, and they just took it out of my time.
So I haven't heard of this option of having them hold your overload. How do you do that?
You go on your load sheet. So when Cheryl was here, she would just on the load sheet, like say I had 16 and 13, like 16 in the fall and 13 in the spring, she would take the 2 units and I wouldn't get overload. She would just add it on to the spring semester. So it wouldn't show an overload. And I don't exactly remember how it looks. It would show, I'd have to look, I have to see if I could find one. It would show it on the spring side instead of so I wouldn't get paid
Yeah.
an overload in
That's interesting to me because over the years, we've had certain faculty members that this has happened to over and over again. So, which is why I didn't even realize there was an option to do that.
Maybe that's something that Cheryl did. Maybe they were on a different campus or they didn't know, but that's what I had heard because yeah.
Yeah, I was told the same thing, and I did that one year when I was out on maternity leave and just didn't want to have to do that many classes in the second half of the semester. Um, and so I was able to just shift my load around. And so it's just the budget coding that they use, and she just didn't give me any overload in the fall. And then I had 30 units in spring by the end of spring.
Yeah. So that's how it was. I just never got an overload paycheck. And the one time I did that, like I'd already gotten my overload for one semester or 1 month, I just repaid it. And I think the same thing when I was out for a long time and I was like 1 unit short or something, I had to just pay the district back that 1 unit, but it didn't end up being that much money.
Okay. Well, this semester it just turned out that I had 2 classes get canceled. I was going to have an overload again.
That's what I was
So,
gonna say.
yeah, so it wasn't planned for, but I was just curious how it gets handled, and Sage, you answered my question. So I'll either pay it back in a check or I could work it out to have a monthly deduction, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
We got it. This is great to learn. So I want to thank you, Kelly. We had a lot of people here, so this definitely was a hot topic for people. And I don't think something I've ever gotten from the district or we've ever gotten from the district. So I really appreciate your time, and I know everyone else does too, in putting this together. And we might invite you back. So
Okay, well, I definitely appreciate you all being here because I'm not a faculty member, so I don't know what you all experience and what goes on the campuses. So I appreciate all your input and help answering these questions as well.
yeah. So enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. There are more wonderful workshops, and we will see you all Monday. Have a great weekend and a great rest of your day. Thanks, Kelly. You want to unrecord, and then do you know how to, yeah, go ahead and unrecord or stop recording.